guys, how's it going? Eli here, back with another video where today I'm going to be doing a fun little mini series where we're going to be going through and breaking down the overall profitability of sending in your cards to PSA. Without further ado, let's just jump right into it. As always, get out of the way, we're doing weekly giveaway winners today. Of course, it's usually on Mondays, but I had a little bit of a delay on posting this video. I do apologize. And so we're going to be announcing our 3 lucky winners for the week. As always, in order to enter in, all you have to do is be subscribed and then leave a like and comment below on any of the pre-recorded videos we post each and every week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Of course, as well, you can comment and like on each video, and then we have 3 winners each and every week. So you've got multiple opportunities to enter as well as multiple opportunities to win. But now let's get the winners out of the way before we jump into the topic. So a little bit of a drum roll for today's winners. It will be Louis DP, and then the card merchant, and then Tom Wasuita. Shout out to you 3. You guys are the weekly winners for the giveaway so far. So if you want to claim your prizes, all you have to do is make sure that you either send me an email or join the Discord and directly message me on that. And I should hopefully get it out to you guys in an appropriate manner of time. But outside of that, I'm excited to jump into the topic. So I want to make sure that I get it out of the way by prefacing what specifically I mean by how to be profitable on PSA. Is it possible? Is it not possible? So we're going to actually have multiple breakdowns of this mini series, but this is going to be our first installment. I'm probably going to have to make it a 2 or a 3 part, but basically I got my PSA return and I wanted to see, hey, I had bought some Diamond and Pearl Air packs not that long ago. I was going through and I was basically able to determine what packs were heavy, what packs were light, and I went through and I opened all of the heavy packs and I sent them off for grading, a good portion of them at least. There's still at least several, 100 cards I would say that I haven't sent in for grading, but I sent the ones that I thought that had the best chance of having a 9 or a 10 in for grade. This is going to be the submission results, what we got for them, what we learned, what we didn't learn, and then of course as well, what the total cost I got for sending everything in and what the total cost was for me to buy all the packs, so we can see what my true profit and loss is based on the amount of packs that I opened and sent in for this overall submission. So the first thing I want to do is preface off by saying I have a compiled list that I made. You guys won't be able to see it just because obviously I want to be able to make this video not extremely long, but I'm going to be going through and telling you guys what my overall expected value is for each card, and we're going to have an accumulated total at the bottom of the screen of me going through and saying, hey, this is where we're at right now, what was the expected grade for the card, and what was the grade that we actually got for the card itself. So it's not going to be any in particular order, just because, well, PSA did not seem to label the boxes, and so I have absolutely no clue which cards are in order or which cards are not in order. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through, I'm going to show you the cards, and I'm going to have the label off the screen so that I won't be able to see what it is, and neither will you guys, and I'm just going to be looking at the screen, so I won't actually be able to visibly see it. And we're just going to kind of go through slowly and just take a look at the cards themselves and see what we expected was going to be the grade and what it actually came out to be. So let's finally get to it. So as you guys can see here, I have a pile of cards. I have about 92 in total. I don't think we're going to go through each and every one in a very slow fashion. We're going to go through all the expensive ones in a slow fashion just because I want to be able to not waste everyone's time, as there are a lot of cards for a large submission like this. But we will still show them off. But just to kind of give an example of how we're going to do this, as you guys can see, I have it flipped off to where you guys can see the back of the card, and then I'm going to flip it off to the front and you guys will be able to see. So first kind of glance, you can obviously see there's a slight amount of whitening in the corners, top left, top right, and as we flip it around, we can see what card is it that I sent in. All right, so it is my Dialga level X. So first and foremost, I want to preface by saying this. When I first sent in this card, there was not any whitening on it, so that is a little bit of a disappointment that I now have my card returned with whitening. It has perfect centering from when I first sent it in. It had what assumably was no whitening, and maybe I missed it, but I highly doubt that. And so this is now, of course, what the card is. My expected grade for it was a 10. That whitening scares me a little bit, but who knows if that was pre-graded or post-graded on when the whitening occurred, but let's just see what the overall grade was. and it was a 9. So that's a little disappointing to say the least. I have absolutely no clue why it potentially got a 9. If you guys can see the front of the card itself, the centering on the card overall is extremely gorgeous. Don't exactly know why it got a 9. I can't really show it to you guys in depth, but there was no print lines when I first sent in the card. And so I got to imagine it maybe has to do with the whitening, or maybe there's something I missed. But I would say overall, this is definitely a card that I'm actually going to send in for resubmission. And that's something we're going to talk about in terms of overall, just the point of this video on general submission strategies and how you can really make the most out of everything. But the value of this card itself was expected to be, of course, around 2,000 if it ended up getting a PSA 10, but instead it got a 9, and the most recent 9 sale I have listed is at the price of $250. Setting that off to the side, let's move on to the next one, and of course, let's take a look. Ooh, I can already see immediate whitening, little small specks of whitening in the top right and left, but nothing too crazy. Centering on this card looks slightly off left to right. But let's, of course, take a look and see what this card is. Ooh, I remember this was a fun card to submit. Once again, level 100 Arceus. I would say based off of the centering itself, I'm going to give it a 9. I think that's what I put in my grade if I was correct. Which one is this? This is a AR7. That's what it says at the bottom right. So let's just take a look and see what the grade it is. It's a 9. We expected a 9. That's what we got. If it were a 10, value would have been at around $260, which was the most recent sale, but instead it was worth $90. So as you can see, looks like we're about, give or take, first 2 cards, slightly around what our expected grade is, give or take. But of course, that Dialga is going to be one for resubmission. Now this card, I love this card centering and whitening. This has no whitening. I mean, can you see that, guys? Let's get even closer. I don't see really any whitening, maybe a small little speck in the bottom right, but this card looks in gorgeous condition. Let's take a look at the front and see what the overall centering is. Ooh, the centering right to left on the front looks a little off. I'd have to imagine, just based off of how it looks on the front, that might have killed it, but I still think it has a shot at a 10, but more than likely going to be a 9. Let's take a look. And it got itself a 9, so that's also kind of the expectation. Just taking a look at the overall centering once again on the card, I think it's extremely important, and I think a good portion of this video as well is going to really be explaining my grading process on why I think it got certain grades. I want to also make note, if there are certain cards that I had seen print lines for, I will let you guys know on that, so that you obviously won't be able to visibly see, because sometimes print lines are visible, sometimes they're not. We can kind of get a glare, but as you guys can see, there is no print line on that card, so it had nothing to do with the print line. It really just came down to the centering on it. But really just getting you guys to fully see what I look for when it comes to grading standards, my personal self. Now let's take a look at this card that we have up next. As we can see, we can already see whitening, top right, bottom left, bottom right. So a little bit of whitening specks, not terrible amounts of whitening, but definitely to where I'm immediately saying this is probably going to be a 9. No clue what this card is. But it has a chance at a 10, really comes down to the front of it. But let's go ahead and take a look at it. Okay, so as you guys can see out the bat, centering on this is slightly off from left to right. The corners of it had a little bit more whitening, not a ton, but a little bit more than what we would have liked. With that being said, I gotta imagine this is probably a 9. You really, of course, would love this card to be a 10 because it's a huge jump off, or a huge drop off in pickup. But I'm going to say that it's probably a 9. And that's exactly what it was. Also, one thing I want to mention, people are like, what's the value of the Mothim? So Mothim at a 9, we're guessing is worth $40, but there's actually no sales history in it, so I couldn't tell you what it's worth. This Leafeon, on the other hand, we actually do have a value that I can give for this Leafeon. Like I had mentioned before, a last sale for it was roughly around $2,000. So that absolutely sucks because I did not get it obviously in a 10. So instead we're going to be getting it in a 9, which changes it roughly to around $200. Sorry, I was dragging off the screen a little bit. Still a beautiful card nonetheless. Question is, would I resubmit it? Honestly, it's still worth a resubmission in my opinion, because for a jump up that big, I mean, heck man, if I get a 10 on it, that makes a huge difference in overall value. And I think, like I said before, centering's not the worst, whitening's not the worst. It would be a weak 10, but I've seen some cards that have been in a lot worse condition get 10s that you would really question it. And I think, you know, it never hurts to resubmit the cards. And we'll go through and talk about what that looks like. Okay, so first and foremost, this card, just overall whitening wise, looks absolutely phenomenal. Little to no whitening on the card. Left to right slightly off, but nothing crazy. Obviously, they grade that 30/70, so you can be pretty off on the back. So I think first look, it looks gorgeous. I actually think this is a really good card in terms of no whitening. Centering on the card slightly, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't even say slightly. This is pretty dang good centering. I'd honestly be surprised if this card didn't get a 10. I can't really see any bad things off the front of it. And it got a 10. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. So definitely stoked about that card. Mysterious Treasures, PSA 10 common card. If I am correct, the value of this card was sold for $200. We can take a look and see what that's going to be valued at. But the Pikachu, sorry for the delay on that, it was valued at $110 in a PSA 10 initially, or sorry, oh, now that was a 9. So this is actually worth $150 in the most recent 10 value. So that's actually pretty cool that we were able to get it in its 10, and I was expecting it to be a 9. So hey man, I actually hit the mark on that. Surprised I thought it was going to be a 9. Interesting. So, but it definitely got the grade just from looking at it. All right, so let's take a look at the overall next submission. Let's see. All right, immediately, I don't know if you guys noticed it, small little white nicks in the top right, left, and corner at the bottom right. But obviously, as we've mentioned before, you know, sometimes graders will let this thing slide, but centering is definitely looking really good right now. Ooh, let's not reveal it. Ooh, another Pikachu? Oh, I must have sent in a second one. Oh, maybe this is the one I thought was going to get a 9, and the other one I thought was going to get a 10. Oh, actually, no, look, I thought they were both going to get 9, so quite interesting. Well, this one had a little bit of whitening specs. I would say the centering on this is definitely much more off compared to the first one, so I would have to say that personally speaking, oh, honestly, this could get a 10 still, but I'm going to have to go with my gut on this one and say it's probably going to get a 9, especially when comparing to how perfect the last one was. And a 9 is what it got again. So far, we're on a roll on predictions. I mean, the only one we were obviously off on was the Legends Awaken, or not Legends Awaken, sorry, the Great Encounters one. But like I mentioned before, the overall whitening on that card was a lot worse than what we had seen last time around. All right, so this card, as you can see, little white speck at the top left, but other than that, looks pretty much perfect in terms of overall whitening on the back. Centering looks pretty dang good. And then let's look at the front of the card. Slightly off left to right, but not really. It's like very slight. Top to bottom looks pretty good. Once again, I think this card looks like a 10. And it looks like a 9, apparently. Let's see where I went wrong with this. I mean, taking a look, you could make an argument that it comes down to centering top to bottom, but it's so slight. And left to right, it's so slight. And then, of course, taking a look at the back, like I mentioned before, you have that small white nick, but that's it. The rest of the card is in perfect condition. So do I think this deserves the grade it did? No, I don't think so, actually, at all. I would have to say this is probably a 10-worthy card. It is actually surprising to me. But like I said before, you're not perfect on your overall expectations on what you think the card is going to be worth. So we're just going to have to kind of bite the bullet on that one. Card value, of course, in a 10 would have been $250. But instead, it ended up being worth $50. So we can add that to the total. And like I mentioned before in the last Pikachu, it was worth $110 in a PSA 9, $150 in a 10. So at least we still got value off of that last Pikachu. But definitely hurt this Charmander getting 50 instead of $250 in value. But not the end of the world at the end of the day. Next up in cards, ooh, look at this one. A lot of whitening at the top left, a lot of whitening in the bottom left. A little bit of whitening at the top. I'm already going to say this card's probably going to be in a 9 condition, but who knows about this? Because you never know. Centering honestly looks pretty dang good, I would say, from top to bottom, from left to right. Dang man, it's kind of hard to see from your guys' perspective, but the centering from left to right is actually pretty perfect. I know it looks slightly off, but the card itself is slightly moved. But did I flash the grade? Well, might as well show it now. 9, probably because the centering was perfect, but of course, it really came down to the whitening. I would have to say the whitening on the card itself was pretty rough, as you guys can see. That probably is what kind of did it in terms of value, but Considering the fact that they're even comparing the two and both of these getting 9s compared to the last one is pretty questionable, but we're going to add another $50 to the total, once again, for the overall count of the value of the collection. Next up for this one, how are we taking a look? Centering from the bottom, it looks like it's in pretty dang good centering condition. You see a little bit of white nicks at the top, but nothing too crazy, I would say. Not enough to where I would take away its overall grade. Can we see a print line on this card? I can't remember if there was or not. I'm not seeing an initial print line for this. What's the overall centering look like? I would say it looks pretty dang perfect. So ultimately, it really comes down to the value of, you know, how much does the greater value the whitening on the back. Let's take a look and see what my expected price was that I was going to be getting this card at. So it's the AR5 for those of you guys that are looking at it. The Arceus 5, I had it rated at a 9. Interesting. So I guess for myself, I had said that the whitening was enough and the centering was a little bit off from top to bottom enough to where I was going to get a 9. I hope I'm wrong and it's a 10. But sadly, I was not wrong. It was a 9. Dang, I am bummed out about that one. I mean, second looks on this, it looks better, but maybe it's because of the slab itself. But overall, still a cool card to get. In a 9, it is valued at 80 bucks. Next up in the overall, once again, grade. Ooh, you guys can see that whitening. Top right, bottom left, small little nick. Lots of whitening to be shown. Not the biggest fan of that overall. Magma Zone level X. You're definitely not getting a 10. You're looking at a 9 at best. How's the centering look on this card? Honestly, centering looks, I mean, it's slightly off left to right. It's not a crazy bit off. I've seen a lot worse, but I would have to assume probably a 9 based off of that. I know the whitening's rough, but it's not enough to where it's going to drop it to like an 8 or something, I would say. So it comes down to centering, but we're going to go with 9 on this one. And I am, for some reason, wrong. That is an 8. Okay, maybe the centering on this card is worse than I expected. I have absolutely no idea how it ended up getting a grade like that itself. But apparently they said that it is actually an 8, not a 9. And that drops it down to 40 bucks in value from what was expected grade, which was a 9, which would have been 100. So definitely bummed out about that one. But you know, you can't win them all sometimes. So that one, I don't know, man. I don't know if I'd want to crack that one and throw it in a binder, or whether that one would be worth grading again just to get a 9. But I mean, the you know, that's the thing is, do I really care about keeping a 9 in my collection? Nah, I really care about the 10. So I feel like I just crack it open, just throw in a binder. Ooh, what about this one though? Bottom right, you got a small nick, very tiny. Top right, nothing really. Top left, nothing. I mean, this looks prime in terms of overall. Look. Obviously it is extremely off left to right. Back looks clean, but it's off left to right. Top to bottom's a little off, but the back looks super clean. So I gotta imagine this is probably a 9 if I were to guess. And it is a 9 as well. Last time this sold, it was roughly around $120 in a 9. Would have been around $500-600 if it were a 10. So a little bit of a bummer on that. But hey, we will take it in a 9 condition as well. Expectation, it looks like, for this card was going to be a 9. Sold for $120. So definitely, you know, was hoping for a 9. Got a 9. Definitely stoked that I hit the mark on that one. All right, what do we got next here? Let's take a look. And sorry if this is going a little bit slower than I anticipated. Of course, if you want to get to the main nitty-gritty of it, we can get to a different part of the video. We can kind of break down, if you want to just skip this part and go see the wrap-up of part 2 and 3. As I mentioned, this is going to be a long mini-series for sure. But let's take a look. Whitening, bottom left, bottom right, but tiny minuscule whitening. Not enough to where I think it would really take away its grade value. Could be wrong on that. What are we thinking so far? Left to right, fine. Top to bottom, fine. Not incredible centering, but I would say pretty good. I know it might be kind of hard to see from your guys' perspective, but as you guys can see from the top, it's slightly off a little bit compared to the left. I don't know, it's kind of hard to see, but it got a 9. Yeah, interesting. I didn't think it was that bad at centering, but I guess so. And I mean, the white nicks, I guess the white nicks also probably played a factor into it, but another one that is part of the mystery of will Eli get more than just 110 so far for the video, but it seems like I am getting a lot of 9s. But to be fair, let's see, what did I expect for the value of the Eevee? I did say it was going to be a 9, so that is part of the expectation. $50 is the overall total value that the card got. I did say it was going to be a 9, so... and it's funny, too, for those of you guys that are wondering, now me looking at it, it's because I make a very conservative estimates. Like, I don't want to be overachieving, say, oh, yeah, I think it was going to get a 10, and then it ends up, getting a 9. So I'd much rather undershoot it on my pre-grading expectations because, sometimes you miss things. Look at how rounded the corners are on this thing. That's the first thing I want to notice if you guys see this. Whitening looks non-existent on the bright side, slightly off in terms of centering. Which card is this? This is a Coughing Reverse Holo. Those of you guys that don't know, big Diamond and Pearl fan, trying to master set it and get all of the reverse holo common uncommon cards in 10. So centering on this card looks great, left to right. Top to bottom looks slightly off. But yeah, no whitening. Left to right, top to bottom looks good. Am I seeing any print lines? I'm not seeing any print lines. Honestly, I think I'd be stunned if this didn't get a 10. We got to get some good lucks here some point. That's all I can say. And we got a 10 with it. Thank God. I would have been really sad if that one did not get a 10. So, because it's not been good for us so far, ladies and gentlemen. It's not been good for us so far. Take a look at this one. Top right, small little white nick. Bottom left, small little white nick. So, not a big white nick, but it's a white nick nonetheless. Ooh, another Mothim. Also coughing as well. There's not a value on it. Never been given a 10 before, if I'm correct. So that's actually a pop 1. So shout out to me. But Mothim. Let's see. Centering slightly off left to right. Nothing crazy. But obviously when you have those white nicks and you have the slight centering off, I want to hope this is going to be a 10. I think if it was a 10, it would be not the strongest. But let me see. What do I have it in my grader? I did say this was going to get a 10 actually. So yeah, I'm gonna think that it has a chance at a 10. If it doesn't get one, it really comes down to the centering. I don't think the whitening is going to play that big of a factor, but who knows? I could be wrong. We got a 9. We got a 9. Wow. Okay. That's a man. My grader really crushed me, man. He does not like me. I mean, how bad's the whitening on that one? You got to think, guys. I mean, look at that one. The whitening's not terrible. I don't know. Maybe I need to be harsher on the whitening on the grading, but maybe they take that more into account than I realize. Let's take a look at the next card, though, and just kind of see from that. Okay, so speaking of whitening, top left, bottom right, instantly see the whitening marks. Based on our current trend, that is definitely not a good appeal. And then if you look at the centering from left to right, definitely, it's definitely a little off. But if you want to talk about big off, top to bottom is rough. It's funny. I want to say this is a 9, but I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if this got an 8. Just based on the fact of the matter that, of how our grader has been grading extremely harsh. So let's take a look and see what it actually got. And we got lucky this time. It actually got an 8. So, and what's funny about this one as well is we actually don't even have an evaluation on what the value of this card is in a 9. Never been done before. Obviously, as we talked about with the last Mothim we did, is worth 40. But the Zapdos, we don't know what it's worth in a 9. So, and it looks like my expectation for it, according to what my chart said, was I expected it to be a 9. So, at least I was right on that one. Would have hurt the heart if I thought it was going to be a 10, and then I'm like, really? I thought it was going to be a 10? This is kind of a test, more or less, of how do I believe I am in terms of grading standards? What do I look like, Top left, top right, slight white dots, but nothing crazy. Nothing I feel like that would stop it from getting a 10. How do we look in terms of centering? Ooh, slightly off from top to bottom. And then left to right, it's slightly off, but not a ton. But man, it's slightly off all the way around. That scares me a lot. And the left to right on the back, look at how off that is, guys. Ooh, that scares me. That's probably a 9. Ugh. I mean, there's very little whitening, so I don't think it's an 8, but I gotta go 9 with it. and it did get a 9 indeed. Okay, so that thankfully did ended up getting a 9. Some of these cards, you definitely go back and you look and you're like, maybe that could have gone an 8, but it got a 9. It looks like my expected grade was a 9. Once again, it is a card that has never had a PSA 9 sold before, so we don't even know what the value is of it. So just keep chugging on through and try and add up the values that we can and just making estimates at the end. So top left, small white nick. Top right, small white nick. Bottom right, small white nick. A lot of small white nicks, but they're tiny dots. Not going to end the world, I would like to believe. So centering from top to bottom is fine. Centering from right to left is slightly off. How's the back centering? You know, it's not going to, I mean, it's off definitely left to right, but we know that they're more lenient on the back compared to the front. So honestly, I think the centering left to right might kill it. I don't know, man. What did I say originally I thought this was going to be? This is a tough one. I think it has a shot at a 10, honestly. You know, it might be a weak 10, but I think it's got a shot. I like to believe so. Maybe I'm crazy, but according to my grade, I said it was going to get a 9. So maybe once again, going back, being conservative, because I think it's got a shot, but probably it's going to get a 9, but we'll see. And it got a 9, so we were once again right on that one. I hate being right. I wish I was wrong. Where are we going to get a 1 where we think it's going to be a 9 and it ends up being a 10? That's what I'm waiting for. That's the one I want. All right, look at this. Left to right, immediately off. Top to bottom, immediately off in centering. Practically no whitening. At least that's going to help us out here. But the centering immediately looks bad. Ooh, I remember this bad boy. Super off, top to bottom again. This is definitely going to get a 9. No question about it. All because of centering. Whitening was good, though. Don't think I'm seeing any print lines from what I remember, but yeah. Well, I guess I leaked it. It's a 9. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, 9 is expected. Once again, no evaluation on what we kind of had for it. Secret Wonders value, I will say though, for the 9, since I missed it, because I keep missing the values. But don't worry, I'll accumulate it when I go back into the video. But that one sold last for $100, so that at least is nice that it sold for 109. But you know, so far, just once again, keep kind of chugging along with the grades. Hoping that we can get something that's going to blow our minds out, though. We'll have to get something good. Bottom right, small little white dot, but honestly, whitening on this looks perfect. Left to right, centering looks off, but nothing crazy. You know, nothing crazy, I would say. How does the front look in terms of centering? Centering looks good. Honestly, left to right, I would say looks really good. And then top to bottom looks really good as well. Maybe? I don't know. Left to right looks good. Top to bottom. I mean, it's slightly off, but that looks pretty good, man. Honestly, is there maybe a print line that we could say that we're seeing or missing? Oh no, you guys see that right down the middle? Right between the Charizard and its wing? Oh, yikes. You know what that is? That's a big old print line for those of you guys that can kind of see it. Here, you guys see it right above? I was like, is there anything that we're kind of potentially missing? Yikes, that's a 9. Oh, that hurts. That looks like it totally could have been a 10. And then we saw the big old print line. I thought I saw something off to the right, and I was like, hopefully my eyes are deceiving me, but nope, that was a print line. Please be just a 9 out of 8. Thank God. All right, cool. Oh my goodness. All right, looks like I also said on my grade I was going to get it in a 9. $73 was the most recent sale. So print lines, man. And here's the thing about this experiment, ladies and gentlemen. You have to keep this in mind. The majority of these packs that I opened were heavies that had something in it. Some of them, obviously, were heavy packs that had non-hollows. As you guys can see right now, in terms of was it worth it, well, I'm getting a lot of 9s. Thankfully, of course, a lot of these are, cards that even in 9s will return value. And if I get a 10, it could be worth something. But nothing in terms of big hitters that we've really gotten so far in the hollow or reverse hollow slot that's really added a ton of value. But yeah, like I said, Salamence is going to be $70. And it was a Secret Wonders pack. Those go for 95. So, $20 loss, not including the overall grading fee and other factors. So just take these things into consideration, ladies and gentlemen. But slight white nick, bottom right. slight white nick top left, but very slight, very slight. Don't think it's going to crush the grade. Centering looks pretty dang good, honestly, all things considered. All right, Pikachu, how we doing? You're not a holo. We don't have to check for holo prints. Centering looks pretty dang good, maybe slightly off top to bottom. But honestly, I think this one, considering it is not a holographic pattern, what do we think it's going to be? That's the first question. My grade on the left of me tells me it's going to be a 10. And the centering looks pretty dang good. Slightly off top to bottom is the only thing that makes me think it could get a 9, but I thought it was going to be a 10. What do we think? Got a 9. Yep, that top to bottom, man. That top to bottom is what killed it. Like I said, I thought I was going to get a 10. I felt like there's a chance at it. But as you could also see in my, hey, what could have given it a 9? The centering from top to bottom was pretty off to where that's going to give it a 9, sadly. But value in the overall 10 slot, you know, it's interesting. The 10 slot for the card, or the 9 slot recently actually sold for apparently what my sheet is telling me is $200. Either that's off or that card is that card is worth way more than it should be. I might have to make some adjustments to that at the very end, but I'm seeing $220 based off of recent sales from Pokedata. So we'll have to check that out later. What do we have next here? Oh, look at this card. What is there to say so far about it? Centering looks good. Slightly off left to right, nothing terrible. But whitening, that's the first thing I noticed. No whitening. Just absolutely gorgeous in terms of no whitening. Where does it stand in terms of, is there a overall print line on it? I'm not seeing anything, ladies and gentlemen. No print line to be seen. Where are we looking in terms of centering? Centering seems to be slightly off top to bottom. Slightly off left to right. I mean, oh gosh, guys. See, this is one of those ones where it's really tough because you're saying to yourself, right, this one has really good, like, you know, no whitening. That's awesome. You'd love to see that. You'd love to see that. But from left to right, centering is slightly off, top to bottom, slightly off. Just looking at this, I want to say a 10. I want to say a 10, but I don't know. This grader seems to do more with whitening than centering, but unless the centering's atrocious. So I gotta go and say this was a 10. According to my sheet, it says it was a 9. But let's see if it was a 10 or not. Hey, I got lucky on this one. I said it was going to be a 9. It got a 10. I probably was pessimistic, kind of like how I was juggling back and forth in terms of it. But hey, man, it's a good feeling. We finally got a 10 in terms of a holographic card. Pachirisu is a pretty low pop. $300. So right there, man, this is, of course, a Great Encounters card. Right there, when you're buying Great Encounters packs, $75 a pop. You pull that bad boy, it definitely makes up for it in terms of the fact that, hey, that right there is worth about almost 4 packs. And you definitely needed that in terms of a holographic card. But let's take a look. All right, what do we got here next? Top left, bottom right. Quite a bit more whitening than you would like to see. And as we've known so far in terms of considering the consistency of this grader, he hates whitening. Left to right, not terrible. Top to bottom, not terrible. Honestly, centering for this item, I would say it's worse than its top to bottom. But as I've mentioned many times before, this grader seems to hate whitening. But here, let's take a look and just see what we gave the actual grade, what we thought it was going to be. It is an AR8. I thought it was going to be a 9, is what it's telling me. You know, it's probably going to be a 9 then. And it was a 9. What do you know? I love this card too. Such a gorgeous card. I think it's so cool. Man, I really love the Arceus subset. Such a gorgeous subset. So far, continuing to get grades that we expect, hopefully. Top right, top left. A little bit of whitening, each next to one another. But it's dots. It's dots. Bottom right, once again, dots. Bottom left, once again, dot. So here's the test. How harsh is he in terms of dots? Because those are tiny dots. Those aren't full-on huge things that are going to crush it, right? Centering is pretty off left to right, though. That centering does not look good. That, I would say, is probably the thing that scares me the most. What do I have it rated at? I have it as a 9. I mean, look at the left or right on that one, guys. How is that not going to get a 9? I would love for it to get a 10, but I don't think the dots are what killed it here, honestly. I think it's what the centering is what killed it. Left to right is so off. Yeah, I got a 9. That makes sense. That makes sense. You know, it's funny. I don't want 9s, but I mean, this just once again goes to show you guys how hard it is to get a 10 for a lot of the older stuff. I know everyone likes to complain ultra modern has terrible stuff in terms of like grading and everything, but guys, really, it's not ultra modern. It's some of these older era sets that are hard to grade, which is why they're in such low pop. Top left looking like it's got a small white dot but tiny. Bottom left you can see a little bit more whitening, and then the bottom right you can see it has a small white dot. Do I think that's going to take away from a 10? Knowing the way this guy's graded, possibly. Centering from top to bottom slightly off, centering from left to right, not crazy off, but once again, this guy's pretty consistent in terms of how he's grading it, because every grader is different. I gotta say this is probably a 9 in terms of value. Also, the Tangrowth, the most recent one I showed you guys, that one recently sold for an 80. Sorry, I will compile the prices, I promise. The Arceus, however, it didn't have an evaluation on what it was worth. The Gastrodon, on the other hand, I don't think this also has a value. I could be wrong. It is the EC one. Oh, 70 bucks and a 9. Also, it's got a really nice swirl on it, as you guys can see. And I guess it's going to be worth 70 bucks as the 9. Hate to see it, but you obviously saw why it got the grade that it did. Man, we've almost been going for 40 minutes. This is definitely going to be quite a long series. Because we still have 2 other large piles outside of the one that we're going through right now. So we're going to finish it up with the rest of our pile. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, obviously scooping on through it. But let's take a look and see on this one. No whitening. Actually a small white dot in the bottom right. But other than that, I mean, the whitening is practically non-existent. Centering is slightly off left to right, but like I said, they grade less harsh on the back. Question is, what's the front going to look like? Front is slightly off from left to right, slightly off from top to bottom. Question is, how slightly off, once again, are they going to be getting it in terms of its grade? Which one is this? The Jump Bluff Hollow? What did I say this was going to be worth? Ooh, I said this was going to be a 10. I mean, yeah, man. I mean, so here's the test here, guys. When it comes to whitening, he's been pretty harsh on whitening, right? He hasn't been harsh. I mean, he's been harsh on centering, but like, not extremely harsh compared to whitening. This does have a little bit off center all the way around, so you'd have to imagine that he's probably going to give it a 9, but we're going to shoot for a 10. My chart says that I thought we were going to get a 10, so that's what I'm going to hope for in this one. Got a 9. Thought it was going to be a 10. Got a 9. Maybe a little bit closer. Let's see. I mean, centering's not... I don't know. Maybe the centering's worse than I thought, but doesn't seem that bad. I don't know. You guys be the judge of that on the Jump Bluff, but maybe it's the top to bottom that got bad centering. So, but 9 goes for 40 bucks. 10 doesn't even have a sale. So, alrighty. What do we got next? Whitening, small white nicks, but tiny dots. You guys can see all the way around. Centering looks slightly off left to right. Quite a bit off, honestly. That scares me a lot. Quite a bit of off centering on the back. Oh god, it's a Charizard. Oh, how's the centering on the front? Centering is slightly off left to right, top to bottom, slightly off. Once again, I want this to be a 10 so bad, but it's probably a 9 if I were to guess. Let's see. Let's see if we can get lucky here. 9. It's a 9. Like I said, came down in the centering. Small white nicks weren't bad. It was all the centering on that card. 10 would have been several $1,000s. It looks like $250. So, and the most recent 9 was for 140. Ouch. That makes a difference. Is it worth sending in for regrade is the question when it's that big of a difference? Personally, I think so. If you can get a 10 on it, I mean, what's the risk, honestly? You spend 15 bucks or 18 bucks each time resubmitting, hoping you get the 10, you get a 9, then that's fine. You just keep hitting it, man. Just keep hitting it when you've got that big of a spread. Why not? I mean, who knows? Potentially you can get a grader that's going to be nice to you. But my grader was not. He was aggressively loving to say, yeah, you can get what you expect. I mean, it's not like what I'm getting is unexpected by any means. I mean, I'm pretty much calling all of my expected grades based off of looking at them, but you got to imagine at some point, you get some leniency here or there. Small white nick top right, small white nick bottom right, but nothing too crazy. Where's this card? Look. Oh, the centering is rough on left to right. Oh, that's so rough. Wow, that's tough. The centering on this looks so bad. It might be kind of hard to see from this kind of angle, but I mean, look at the centering on that. Ooh, that's probably going to get a 9. Yep, got a 9. Makes sense. Centering was not the best on it from left to right. That's what I think killed it. What is the value actually on the Frost Last and the 9? Let's take a look. 9's worth 60. All right, guys, down to the final 3. Then we're going to move on to the next week. Yeah, I think I'm going to just do these in segments once a week. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Ooh, whitening, non-existent. This one looks so nice. Oh, please. This is going to be a 10. There's no way so far. It's going to come down to centering on the front. It's a reverse hollow. Whitening is non-existent. Any print lines we're missing? No print lines. Left to right, top to bottom. Guys, please. No whitening, perfect centering. I think this is a 10. If I'm wrong, I give up on life. Oh, thank God it got a 10. Oh, such a sick card to get a 10, though. Ooh, I wonder what the pop is on this card, but recent sales tell me it's sold for... Let's take a look. Let's take a look if I had anything for the Latios. All right, so in terms of the overall value, this recently got in a sale. If I can find it. It recently sold for a... Looks like it's saying 120. When I first got it, it looks like it was 225, but it looks like the value's gone down to 120. Wonder if that was a fluke sale or wonder if that's a legit sale. Either way, to be quite honest with you guys, I absolutely love this card art. I love this card design. In fact, that I got it in reverse rare, and it's part of a set that that card would usually be extremely hard to pull in that condition, especially considering reverse hollows were known for a lot of lines. I'm definitely lucky that that one got a 10. But to be fair, I mean, I shouldn't say I got lucky because it looked like it was a 10, right? That was gorgeous. I mean, I should say I'm lucky that I pulled it in that condition. Which, speaking of condition, top left, white little nick. Bottom right, a little bit more whitening, but once again, not too bad. But we know how this grader's been. But look at the centering from top to bottom on this one. Yikes, guys. Top to bottom's rough. This back is scaring me a little bit. Left to right centering is pretty good. It's mainly the top to bottom, but honestly, guys, I don't think it's the front that's going to kill us. I think it's the back that's going to kill us. The back is what scares me the most. I think that could potentially make it a 9. What did I say in terms of value? What did I think this was going to get? I thought it was going to get a 10. Wow, I must have been smoking something at the time to think this card was going to get a 10, or must have missed something. But now re-looking at it, I think it's going to be a 9 just based off how bad the centering is on the back. Yeah, I mean, the centering is just so off from top to bottom, guys. It's hard not to say that's going to be a 9. I mean, the winding's not bad. I don't think the windings was DQ'd it. It really just came down to the centering. You know, kind of a bummer, but what are you going to do? All right, ladies and gentlemen, last card until we have to part ways and to part 2 for next week. But let's see what this card was. Top left, little white nick. Bottom right, tiny nick. Left is definitely more predominant. Torterra level X. God, one of my childhood cards. Absolutely love this card. Left to right, centering is pretty dang good. Top to bottom, slightly off, but honestly not that bad. Not that bad. Let's take a look once again on the back left. I mean, the whitening is very slight, I would say. Here's my fear, guys. I think the centering on this card is actually really good. Let me look on the back one more time. Centering on this card is really good. However, based on the way this guy's been grading, he's been pretty consistent in terms of giving you marks on whitening. I'm afraid he's going to give this a 9 just because there's a little bit more white spots. They're not massive. I mean, they're noticeable, right? You have them. But do I think it's a 9 worthy? Not really. But this is what makes me afraid. I said it was going to get a 10 originally. But now looking at how this grader grades, I got to go with it's probably going to be a 9, and it hurts my heart. And I was right. That's definitely a bummer. So what did we learn so far about this part of the video? I might disagree on the way in which some of the things were graded by this grader. However, so far he's been extremely consistent. He has shown that he grades whitening a lot harsher. And for those cards that I felt like did get grades that they did not deserve because he was a little too harsh on the whitening, such as the Torterra Level X, the Dialga, I thought was absurd that it even considered that. I think some of those, and even the Charizard. The Charizard, I think it's it still has a shot at a 10. Not surprised it got a 9, but those two specifically, I think he's grading a little harsh on that. And so what did I learn? I learned that he's very consistent in it. And what did we learn? You just take those cards, you break them open, and we'll do a first tutorial on how to break open slabs sometime in the near future. But so far, he's been pretty consistent on the back whitening. So we're going to go through for the next part of part 2. We're going to break it down, and we're going to kind of see, once again, what he overall valued each one of these that I thought were going to be 10s versus 9s. So, but as far as it goes, we've been going for over 45 minutes now. Just want to give you guys a thanks once again for supporting the business, supporting the channel. Can't thank you guys enough for it. As always, we want to enter into our weekly giveaways. All you have to do is leave a like, comment down below, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We post pre-recorded content for you to do so each and every week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Of course, as always, we have 3 winners each and every week, and since you can comment and like on each video, that's 3 opportunities to enter as well. But that is all for today's video. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Until then, I will see you guys on Friday. Peace.